What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back to another edition of Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And you guys, it's been a minute. It has been a minute since I've been on the air. Wow. Where do I begin? So I haven't been doing the show for the past 2 weeks. You may have noticed. I have been completely burned out. Not from doing the show, but from my other job. Some of you know I work as a flight attendant. I'm not going to tell you which airline I work for, but woof. This month, or rather last month, because today is February, but the month of January has been completely hellacious in terms of working, doing the job. Very stressful. My job has become yelling at passengers and telling them to keep their masks on. Not only that, but it's also become a big part of my job is just waking up at literally 3 o'clock in the morning so I can go to work by 4. My hours have been all over the place, and I've just been completely wiped out. And so even though last week I had a few days off last week that I could have done this show, like I said, I've just been so drained, and just to have the flight attendant job literally take it out of you so much. So case in point, here's a little thing that happened to me, right? So I was assigned a trip, and it seemed like a pretty good deal, right? I get deadheaded. So deadheading, if you're not familiar with the term deadheading is just I fly as a passenger. I still get paid for flying from New York to Chicago, but I don't actually have to work the flight. I'm still like an on duty or like an active duty flight attendant, but I don't actually have to work the flight. I just sit as a passenger, read a book, watch a movie, play a game on my phone, listen to music, do whatever it is I want to do, right? So it seemed like the trip was a pretty good deal, right? So I deadhead from New York to Chicago, and then I actually work as a flight attendant from Chicago to Philadelphia. While I'm in Philly, I had a 36-hour layover. I thought, this is wonderful. So, Kim's father lives in Philly, so she came down on the train. The three of us got together. We had dinner, we had lunch, and then we had dinner. It was a wonderful day. Kim went home on the train. That night, I opened up my schedule on my phone. Come to find out, the company had decided, you know what? We're not going to send you home tomorrow. And that's what I was supposed to do for the next day. So I deadhead from New York to Chicago. I work from Chicago to Philadelphia. I lay over for 36 hours, and then I do the same thing in reverse. I work from Philadelphia back to Chicago, and then I get deadheaded from Chicago back to New York City. Perfect, easy, low stress kind of trip, right? Well, that night in Philadelphia, I'm looking at my schedule and they say, it's not the magic word. Say the magic word. So, Jurassic Park reference. You're welcome. So, anyways, this is turning into life as a flight attendant as opposed to let's talk about movies. But yeah, I'll wrap this up really quick. So anyway, the company just decided, hey, guess what? After you get back to New York City tomorrow, now we're going to have you work a flight down to Miami. And I was like, hang on, what? And now you're going to spend the night in Miami, and then you have to work all day the next day. And I was like, and it was one thing after another. Anyway, you guys, that is why I just haven't been doing shows for the past 2 weeks. Is that I'm working, or It takes a piece of you. It takes a piece of you. Anyway, guys, enough about flight attending. If you have any questions about what it's like to be a flight attendant for a major airline, jump down to the comment section below, and I will gladly answer any questions that you have about that. But before we move into the main topics of the show today, first I have to tell you how to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It's really rather simple. Go over to youtube.com, type in Gotta Love Them Movies. In the top right hand corner of the screen, you're going to see a little red rectangle that says subscribe. Go ahead and click on that rectangle. What clicking on that subscribe rectangle does is it helps us to get more subscribers onto the channel. And with more subscribers on the channel means more watched content on the channel, which means I get to make this show my full-time job by earning ad revenue. So I really appreciate your help and support and clicking that little red subscribe button. And of course, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, the live portion of the show will move from Facebook to YouTube. So just something to keep on your radar there. All right, guys. Without further ado, let's move on and take a little bit of movie news.
What? What?
All right, you guys, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Like I said, I've missed the past few weeks, and real quick, I was gonna show this earlier, but for anyone who wants to know, today is a snow day. Today is a snow day in New York City. This is what my back terrace looks like right now, or rather, as of an hour and a half ago. It's just it's still doing the same thing. I'm looking out the window right now, and it looks exactly the same. Nothing has changed. So it's just blizzardy weather. There's so much snow. In fact, you can see that line of snow there on the ledge. It is almost, I'm not going to say it's double that, but it has significantly been built up since then. So it's crazy. Today is a crazy snow day, you guys. Anyway, so yes, today is a snow day. We're going to move on. Let's talk about movies and movie news and all of our favorite things to talk about in the world today. And the first topic that we are going to talk about today is Coming to America. That's right. Coming to America. We knew it was coming out on March 5th. I mean, those announcements have been made very recently themselves, but the brand new poster for Coming to America has just dropped, and here it is in all of its glory. Obviously, we have Eddie Murphy right in the front. It's wonderful to see Arsenio Hall coming back. Of course, the voice of Darth Vader himself, James Earl Jones. We have a few fresh faces in there as well. I mean, in terms of a movie poster, it looks good. It looks great. It looks fun. All it's designed to do is just to get us chit-chatting, get us talking, kind of hype up the buzz a little bit. And it looks good. I hope here's one of the things that I really enjoyed about the movie Dolomite. I'm gonna move tangentially over to another Eddie Murphy property or vehicle for a second. Dolomite, I felt, was a wonderful kind of vehicle for Eddie Murphy. It's a true story. It's kind of an important story, but it was also really fun and really, really well done. With Coming to America, obviously there's the first film, Coming to America, and I always have problems with films that copy the titles of previous films in the franchise, like Coming to America is also Coming to America, and The Matrix is now going to just be Matrix, or there's Scream, and then there's Scream. It's so, I mean, that's a small thing. I always have problems with that. But with this movie, I know a lot of people are really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to see it. I've never been the biggest Coming to America fan on the planet. For my money, Beverly Hills Cop is Eddie Murphy's best work. It's either that or The Haunted Mansion. One of the two. Um, mm, Anyway, so I mentioned Dolomite. Dolomite was a wonderful return for Eddie Murphy to the comedy realm, to the comedy scene, kind of mainstream a little bit, if you will. And with Coming to America, this poster really makes it look like this movie could be something special. Not necessarily that it is going to be something special, but it looks like it could be something special. The poster for Dolomite was really cool. It was really fun. It wasn't quite as loud. It was vibrant as this particular poster. Let's go back here. It's not quite as... this poster, it definitely gives you the feeling. It definitely gives you the look, but I think it also kind of gives you the feeling of what the movie is going to be. Of course, there's also we've also had little snippets of the trailer, so there's going to be more trailery stuff to come out in the near future. Anyway, thoughts for you guys is, what do you think about the new poster for Coming to America, starring Eddie Murphy, James Earl Jones, Arsenio Hall, and a whole bunch of other people? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know what you think of the poster. Does this get you more excited, or are you just kind of like, oh yeah, well, yeah, of course. Anyway, let me know down in the comment section below. All right, guys, our next bit of movie news we're going to talk about today is The Sandman. This has been a movie that has been in production for so long, so many different stages of production. A few years back, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt was attached to this for a while. It was going to be like this next big kind of movie sensation kind of a thing, and that whole thing just completely fell apart. Now, if you're not familiar with The Sandman, it's a graphic novel, I guess you could even say a comic book series by Neil Gaiman, acclaimed writer Neil Gaiman, and comic book illustrator as well. He, for DC Comics, wrote the epic The Sandman. Now, this is volume 2. Hold on. Let's jump over to here for a second. This is volume 2. Look at this thing, you guys. So this is omnibus. This is one of the omnibuses. This thing is massive. I'm currently reading volume 1, which is funny because, not necessarily funny, it's just the serendipity of it all. Volume 1 is just as thick as volume 2. It is massive. It is huge. And I started reading it a few years ago, and I just never continued on with it. So honestly, maybe like 2 weeks ago, I thought, let's pick it up. Let's pick up The Sandman. Let's really start sinking our teeth into the story and start getting into it. And then here we are like a week later, and Netflix announces that they've cast the show. So if you're not already familiar, The Sandman, which originally was supposed to be like a movie property franchise thing, it's now being developed by Netflix for a television series, which I think is a better way to go. I mean, as you can see, there is just so... And like I said, this is volume 2. This is volume 2 of the Sandman epic. There is just so much stuff to cover. I think bringing the Sandman to Netflix as a television series is the better move here. Like I said, it's like a Game of Thrones kind of thing. There's so much info. There's so much going on. So yeah, let's jump into this casting announcement real quick, shall we? Let's jump on down. We have some familiar faces, and we have some faces that we're not quite so familiar with. So here we are. Tom Sturridge. If you're not familiar with Tom Sturridge, don't slap yourself on the wrist, because I feel like that's a lot of us right now. Tom Sturridge is mostly an indie actor. I had to look up his IMDb profile. I myself am not all that familiar with his work, and that's because he's done a lot of indie type stuff. I think it's really interesting when you get a really I can't speak to his quality of acting, except that look at the types of projects that he's been in. And I'm not going to look up his IMDb profile right now. I'll let you guys do that on your own. But look at the kinds of films that he's been in. He's kind of taken not the Robert Pattinson approach, but, Robert Pattinson went out and did Twilight, and then he came back, or he kind of receded a little bit and started doing tons and tons of indie films. Where Tom Sturridge is that's all he's kind of done are these indie films. Gwendolyn Christie, we were talking about Game of Thrones previously. There's a little bit of a Game of Thrones vibe here with Charles Dance as well coming into the show, but Gwendolyn Christie playing Lucifer, it's a casting choice I never would have thought of. I never would have thought to cast Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer. And you guys, this just makes all the sense in the world to me. That it just seems perfect, right? Charles Dance is coming in as playing what's his name? Burgess. Roderick Burgess. And again, if you haven't read here, okay, here's the thing, you guys. If you're not already familiar with the story of the Sandman or the comic The Sandman or whatever, I will give you just a brief overview. The Sandman is a story in the DC Comics realm, and yes, it takes place in the same universe as Batman, Superman, and all the rest, right? So in this world, in this universe, there's this guy, Roderick Burgess, who wants to capture death and have power over death, like the Grim Reaper, essentially. He wants to capture death and kind of become the ruler of life and himself, and like continue on living forever in perpetuity. And instead of capturing death, he captures Death's brother, the Sandman, or Dream, right? And so now, after Dream has been in captivity for close to a century, not quite a century, but close to a century, the Sandman breaks out of captivity, and he comes to find that many of his relics, the things that he uses as the Sandman, have been dispersed around the world. They've gone missing, and so now he goes on this journey to get his stuff back. And again, if you're familiar with any amount of DC Comics, familiar faces will start popping up. Again, I'm not going to give too much away, but John Constantine, if you're familiar with John Constantine, he's a character that pops up, and plenty of other characters that you'll recognize. Anyway, so that's just a brief overview of the Sandman story, and there's so much more. My goodness, I barely even scratched the surface, right? But I think it's really interesting that we're going to get this cast, this particular, and again, there's many other names on here that I'm not familiar with. I will say, familiar with Boyd Holbrook, who, if you saw the Wolverine movie, Logan, he kind of played the bad guy in Logan. Anyway, I think this is really cool. I'm really looking forward to this. We don't know, like, when it's going to start shooting. Of course, we're not entirely sure when it's going to come out. Hopefully 2022, I think sounds like a pretty solid bet. Maybe in the first, maybe the second quarter of 2022, I would imagine, I would think. And if they do this, anything of like how the comic or the graphic novel plays out, you guys, I think this is going to be epic. I really do. I think the Sandman is going to be something completely epic. But the question is for you: what do you think of the casting of the Sandman? How do you think the story is going to play out? Where do you see them going with this? What's the longevity? Do you think? What do you think the crowd reception is going to be for the Sandman? Because it's largely an unheard of property unless you are in like the comic book sphere, graphic novel world. This is like I don't know, is this like the graphic novel version of Lord of the Rings, like in terms of epic size and scale? maybe. I think it'll be really interesting to see this play out. But like I said, what do you guys think of it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our third topic of the day, and that is this. Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, coming back. And not just coming back. There's some really interesting, not casting announcement, but rather the director, the writer, and the showrunner. Or not the showrunner, because it's going to be a movie, but Misha Green. Misha Green is now attached to write and direct the new Tomb Raider sequel. If you're not familiar with Misha Green, she was the one who created Lovecraft Country. I have my own thoughts about Lovecraft Country. If you've been watching the show at all, you know I'm not a fan, and I have my reasons for it. If you want to engage, here's the thing. If you want to know why I don't like Lovecraft Country, hit me up on the YouTubes, hit me up on Twitter, send me a message here on Twitter or Instagram, whatever, at GLT Movies. We can have a conversation about Lovecraft Country. I don't think it's a good show. We're not talking about Lovecraft Country. We're talking about Tomb Raider, the sequel to the Alicia Vikander series. So anyway, here, I think it was Deadline that broke the story, but this particular article is from Collider. Here's a tweet from Misha Green herself. She basically comes out and says, like, are you excited as I am for the Tomb Raider movie? And she's listed a whole bunch of emojis there. It looks like there's a little zombie in there. It looks like we could get some zombie action. We could get some dinosaur action. Of course, like there's artifacts and punching and, climbing. There's a like jewel. There's a little Easter Island kind of statue there. Of course, there's running. One of the things that we've always come to love and value about the Lara Croft Tomb Raider series has been like the puzzle, like the figuring out of the puzzle aspect to it. So, I don't need the puzzle aspect. I just want the Indiana Jones aspect. If Tomb Raider can become the next Indiana Jones in terms of production value, in terms of fun, I am on board for not revisiting Indiana Jones if we have a great substitution. And I think Tomb Raider isn't there quite yet. It's not quite there yet, but it could be. I think Tomb Raider has some wonderful possibilities, excellent potential, and especially with Misha Green behind it. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Lovecraft Country fan. I'm not. I don't think it's a good show for a few reasons, and it all has to do with storytelling. In the first few episodes of Lovecraft, I say I'm not going to talk about it, but here I am. I'm going to just talk about it just a little bit. We don't get a clear understanding of who these characters are, what they want, and why they're doing what they do. I totally understand the world that they're living in. I get it. I get that. But we don't understand why the characters are doing what they're doing. Now, you can disagree with me. Where did my autofocus go? Hold on, let me see if I can fix this. There we go. Sorry about that. Now you can disagree with me on that. You can totally disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I just don't. It's my personal belief that I don't think the characters of Lovecraft Country have been fully realized or developed. So in improv, there's an improv teacher here in New York City named Armando Diaz. He created the Magnet Theater, and he has a very wonderful thing going on there. Wonderful community over at the Magnet Theater. I had an opportunity to take a few classes from Armando himself, and one of his catchphrases is, know who your character is before the robots burst through the wall. I'm paraphrasing. It's something like that. And what that means is when you're on stage and something crazy happens, you have to know who you are. Who is your character? How is your character going to respond to a situation like this? Because if your character, and let me just use some IP examples here. If your character is a Ninja Turtle, you're instantly going to go into fight mode, right? If your character is, I don't know. How about Bob Ross? If your character is Bob Ross, and then the robots burst through the wall, you're going to think like, oh my goodness, what is happening right now? If your character is, let's just say, George R.R. Martin. If your character is George R.R. Martin, you're probably going to stand off to the stage, have a smoke of a cigarette, and be like, this happened exactly as I planned it, right? So depending on who your character is, you can have a myriad of different reactions to the same event, right? So my whole argument against Lovecraft Country is that I don't believe that these characters know who they are. Whether they know who they are or not, we, the audience, the viewing audience, we don't know who they are. So when the literal monsters start attacking and jump out of nowhere and they have these reactions, I don't understand why they're having some of these reactions. Now I get it, like all of them are scared and they're like, oh, there's a crazy monster, but you understand the idea of what it is that I'm saying. Maybe not the specificity, but it's the idea. We don't know who they are. Let's map that over. What is going on with my autofocus, you guys? My autofocus is here. I'm just going to turn it off. This is crazy. All right. My apologies. So let's map that on top of Tomb Raider, right? We already kind of know who Lara Croft from the first Tomb Raider movie, right? And when I say the first one, I mean the one with Alicia Vikander. We already kind of have a sense of who she is, and it was a decent movie. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film, solid film, and been wondering why we haven't had a sequel yet. But here we are. We're getting the sequel now. I would hope that the character development that comes out in this, whether it's Lara Croft herself or other characters, whatever, I would hope that we would get more character development than we have had examples of from Misha Green in Lovecraft Country. Now, I understand that like she's done a whole bunch of other stuff too. She's very talented. If she wasn't talented, if she wasn't good at her job, I dare say even if she wasn't prolific, she probably wouldn't have been hired. So we probably have a lot of good. We've got more good on our hands than we do non-good. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. My question for you guys is, what do you think of Misha Green being hired as the writer director of the next Tomb Raider movie? Jump on down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, let's move on to our, this is more so going to be maybe a spoiler talk about WandaVision. You guys, episode 4 of WandaVision. Now, granted, I didn't do a show last week, so we didn't get to have a spoiler talk about WandaVision season 2, or I'm sorry, episode 3, excuse me. Season 2. What am I talking about? I'm all over the place. Wow, you guys, I have been loving this show. I have been absolutely loving this show. Now, with episode 4, being that it's already dropped this last Friday, this is a spoiler warning. We are talking spoilers about WandaVision. So if you don't want to know what happens in WandaVision, if you don't want to know anything from episode 4, if you haven't had a chance to watch episode 4 yet, Click away now. This is spoilers for WandaVision. My goodness. Karen Alties just chimed in. Hi, Mike Brown. Hi, Karen. How are you, my love? Wow. Episode 4, you guys. Episode 4 peeled back the curtain, right? So we get an idea. We have a basic rudimentary understanding of what is going on in the world of WandaVision. Wanda, it's becoming clear, has lost her mind. Let me start by talking about towards the end of the episode. This totally caught me by surprise. This was kind of a shock to me when we saw, and I say we have a few new viewers here. So for anyone who's just clicking in right now, this is a spoiler talk for WandaVision. If you don't want to know what's going on with WandaVision, if you haven't had a chance to watch WandaVision, click away now or forever hold your clicks, right? So at the end of WandaVision, we see just a brief glimpse of Vision himself as an animated corpse, dead. A dead animated corpse from Wanda herself. We know that there was it wasn't so much of a deleted scene as a scene that never got filmed in the first place. It was a scene that was written. It was a scene that was conceptualized. It was a scene that never got filmed during the filming of Avengers Endgame. And that scene was Wanda, in her grief, going into the morgue, whether it's the Avengers morgue. I don't know if the Avengers compound has a morgue, but let's just go ahead and say they do. She goes into the morgue and she steals the body of Vision. This is something that we've known for a while, has been a deleted scene because it never got filmed, but it was a scene that never got filmed, right? That was something that the writer, director, producers on the film wanted to put in as a tag, as a post-credits tag, right, for the film. And so there was this theory of like, okay, well, they never filmed it, so maybe this WandaVision reality is something a little different. And then at the end of episode 4, we see the dead corpse of Vision as he really is, and not as how Wanda thinks of him, because, you know, we know how Wanda thinks of him in, you know, all throughout so far. But now we see him for what he really is, a dead corpse. And it was unsettling. It was slightly disturbing. It definitely caught me off guard. And I kind of liked it. I kind of like it's taking Wanda in a very dark direction here. We know that she has set up some kind of a 5-mile radius barrier over the town of Westview. You guys, I'm loving this. Episode 4 was nowhere near long enough for me. As soon as it ended, I turned to Kim and I said, "No, I need more. Oh, I need more. Yes, we need more." Man, it was good. Oh man, it was good. And I can't wait for this upcoming episode coming on Friday, which here's the thing. If you haven't noticed, if you haven't seen already, about 3 hours ago, Marvel themselves, they dropped a mid-season trailer. I've never really seen this before. I'm sure people have done it. I'm sure projects and properties have done it. But Marvel just dropped a mid-season trailer. They give us a little bit more of things to look forward to. We know we have another 5 episodes to go. 5 episodes to go. So we got another trailer for the second half of WandaVision. I think that's a clever idea. It's a wonderful marketing strategy just to keep the conversation going. What do we think is going on? Now, in the trailer, it looks like, Vision kind of catches on, or rather, Wanda's projection of Vision starts figuring out and becoming wise to what's happening, right? So it makes me wonder, is Vision a projection of her subconscious going on, right? I think that's the case. We know that there's going to be some kind of a maybe not a boss battle, but like some kind of a fight between Wanda and Vision to try and keep the illusion alive. And then right at the very end of the trailer, we see, I don't know if I can bring this up. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Right at the end of the trailer, we see, oh, was it the end? Maybe not quite. There's one portion, oh, here we go. There's a portion where we can see kind of like the bubble of like Westbrook, or like this television world of Westbrook, and somebody is coming out of it right there. You can kind of see somebody. It was probably Wanda herself. Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think it's interesting. It's something that we've never seen before. It's definitely a character piece, but like a really crazy character piece. I love that they're taking the concept of the House of M and doing their own thing. I think we saw this in Civil War as well, where yeah, we have the basic concept of what Civil War was about. It was about Iron Man versus Captain America, and not just them, but like the ideology behind it all. What does it mean? Why is this important, kind of the thing? And I think we can definitely see that there's a lot of House of M parallels here. House of M is a storyline from the comics. If you're not familiar, just Google House of M. It's just the letter M. House of M. Check it out. Just do Scarlet Witch, House of M. You'll find exactly what it is that we're talking about. Anyway, I know the WandaVision is it's not as divisive, I think, as people want to believe that it is. I think it's getting a more positive reception than people would want you to believe. I think this is a wonderful show. I'm loving it. I've heard, and I've seen other critics and film commentators talk about like the structure of it and saying like, okay, the first 2 episodes were interesting, and then the 3rd episode, okay, we see what you're doing here, we get it, and obviously the 4th episode like revealed all, well, kind of, and people would have, I think the general vibe in the room is that they would have liked to have like the lid peeled off much earlier, maybe like halfway through season or through episode 2. I love how this is playing out. I really do. I love the structure of this. I think it's really clever. I think it's very smart. It's very, very different, and I like that. I like how different this is and how different it feels. But it also, yes, it feels different. But it also feels familiar, and it feels the same. It doesn't feel like a watered down version of the MCU to me. I was afraid that it was going to, and who knows, it might still, like there's still plenty more. Like we still have the 80s sitcom to go through, the 90s sitcom to go through, and then like the Modern Family, like the 2000s style sitcom to go through. I think those are going to be really, really interesting episodes. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the rest of this. Nikki Matthews, my first original best friend. First of all, from my childhood, Nikki, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Nikki Matthews says, WandaVision is my current favorite thing. Right? We have been in a state of needing more right now, right? This is something that Kim and I talk about all the time, is that the movies and television shows coming out right now are such heavy dramas, and I'm not opposed to heavy dramas. Bring them on. A heavy dramatic film or story or television show, I think, can be thought-provoking. It can be very interesting. It can shift your worldview. They can even, dare I say, be fun. But the types of dramas we've been getting right now are very low, like the acclaimed type ones, right? Oh, you have to watch this one. And there's like White Tiger. We just watched White Tiger last night on Netflix. And White Tiger, while it's a good movie, it's a good story. It's an interesting story. My goodness. The movie's 2 hours long, and everything that happens in that movie from start to finish feels like it could take place in the first 30 minutes of the film. In the first act, that the entire movie could be the first act of a film because it feels like there's so much more. There's a bigger story. They ended on this note of like, oh, this was what he was getting at the whole time? Okay. Why did it take so long to get here? And it's not even that compelling. Like I said, the entire movie of White Tiger should have only been the first 30 minutes of the story and then take us on the next chapter of this guy's adventure, right? Character development is few and far between right now in storytelling. In like the COVID world storytelling, from what I've noticed, it just seems like a lot of the movies and television shows that we're getting right now, especially movies, are the ones that would not have been, they would not have performed very well in theaters. And the studios can kind of afford to, let it go. And that's what we're getting a lot of right now. And Nikki, to your point about WandaVision, that this is your current favorite thing, it is my current favorite thing too. Because, yes, it's familiar, but also it has a fun It was also designed for television. It was designed for If it was designed for the movies, it would have been pushed back even further. Look at Black Widow. Keeps getting pushed back, right? It needs to make a return on its investment. And WandaVision was designed for Disney Plus. Same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was designed for Disney Plus. And Loki, designed for Disney Plus. Which is, look at HBO Max. That's why they're in such a kerfuffle right now over all these movies with Legendary and like other Warner Brothers pictures with like very famous directors' names attached to them. HBO Max and Warner Brothers, they're in a lot of hot water right now because they're trying to do what Disney Plus is doing, or they're trying to do something clever, and it's not working out for them at all. But with Disney Plus, we get this vehicle that was designed as this specific type of vehicle, right? And it's fun. It knows what it is. It's lighthearted. It's telling a very specific story. Yes, with characters that we're already familiar with. But it's still taking the time to develop these characters. It's still taking the time to develop these characters and to make us care about them. Yeah, great. We already saw them in a tag from, was it Captain America, the Winter Soldier? We saw them first in a tag in the Winter Soldier, and then in Avengers Age of Ultron, and then Captain America Civil War, and then Avengers Endgame, and then Avengers Infinity War, and then in Endgame. We've seen them a good amount, but now we're like delving into more of their character and who they are, and the commercials. If you stop and look at the commercials and start adding up all the commercials together, like in the first 3 episodes, they mean something very, very specific in terms of who these characters are and what they're, specifically Wanda, and what her trauma is. It's so interesting. The first commercial was about the Stark toaster, right? And it represents the missile that blew up her home that killed her parents. And she and her brother Pietro were just waiting for that missile or that bomb to go off. And it never did. So trauma number 1. Trauma number 2. Baron von Strucker. It was the commercial for the watch, remember? And it was like a Hydra watch or whatever. She and her brother Pietro were experimented on in a laboratory and given powers. Trauma number 2, right? And then we fast forward to the third episode of WandaVision, where that commercial was all about like escape, just forget the past and live in the now, or like create. I can't create your own. Oh, what was it? Create your own paradise, something along those lines, right? And it also had some strong Hydra ties into it, right? Well, look at what she's doing with Westview. This could very well be trauma number 3 here, you know? And this is how she's expressing that. Anyway, yes, Nikki, my very first friend on planet Earth, I agree with you. This is my favorite thing currently right now as well. Anyway, guys, we could go on and talk about so many other different things about WandaVision and the episodes. I'm very much looking forward to the next installment, episode number 5. I think they're going to have some pretty cool things up their sleeves, and exciting and interesting and thought-provoking, and I think we're going to be taking on a journey. Still, I think it's going to be awesome. Question is for you guys. What do you think of WandaVision episode 4? Do you have any other theories? I mean, like, we haven't even started talking about, like, Agatha Harkness and whether or not she is the character being played by Catherine Hahn. We know that Catherine Hahn's photo was the only one that didn't have a driver's license attached to it in episode 4, when the Sword was going through and looking at everyone's bios and whatever. There's a lot of other secrets. There's a lot of other secrets coming. Also, did you catch the drone that went into the vision bubble? I don't know what else to call it. The WandaVision bubble. The drone that went in there, it was done up in the color scheme of Captain Marvel. A reference to both Captain Marvel and to Monica Rambeau herself, the original Captain Marvel. Not the original Captain Marvel, that was played by a dude, but it's complicated. Read the comics, look it up, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, jump down to the comment section below, and what did we not talk about today regarding WandaVision? I want to know down in the comment section below. All right, guys, that will do it for today's episode of Gotta Love Them Movies. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for being a part of the conversation. Thanks for giving us things to talk about. You guys, if you want to get... Oh, what did I do? I just clicked on something. There we go. If you guys want to get a topic or a question on the show, it's really easy. Just send me an email at gottalovethemovies@gmail.com. Your topic or question, we can make it a main topic. We can do, if you just want to contact me directly, send me an email at gottalovethemovies@gmail.com. And yeah, we can talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. If you want to be a guest on the show, hit me up at gottalovethemovies@gmail.com, and you quite possibly could be a guest on the show. We have to do some pre-screening. There's always going to be some pre-screening involved. I mean, you know that. Come on. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Wanda Maximoff would want you to do. Oh, yeah. Anyway, guys, my name is Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. This is Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. You guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to... if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world or speak kind words to each other, please, I implore you, take those opportunities. As always, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow.